A boy named Santiago lived in Spain. Though his parents wanted him to become a priest, he went against them and took the decision of being a shepherd because he loved to travel. He was a free soul and enjoyed traveling from city to city, leading his flock of sheep. One day, he was traveling to a village named Andalusia to sell some wool to the merchant and meet merchant's daughter on whom he had a slight crush. But seems like the destiny wanted something else. On his way to the village, he decided to spend a night in an abandoned church with his herd and slept under a sycamore tree, where he saw a dream of a secret treasure hidden in pyramids of Egypt. Amused and uncertain about his dream, he suddenly remembered that in a close-by place named Tarifa, there was an old woman who interpreted dreams. He went to the woman. The woman first asked him to promise that he would give her 1/10 of the amount if he successfully finds it, and interpreted that according to dream, you must go to pyramids of Egypt to find the treasure. He was surprised and irritated and said, "I know about this. Tell me something more." But the lady didn't say anything about how to fulfill the dream. Disappointed, he left from there and decided that he would never ever believe in dreams. He again started imagining his meeting with the merchant's daughter and kept moving. In the same city, Santiago met an old Arab man who claimed himself to be the king of Salem and surprisingly was aware of his dream and the confusion he was in. He encouraged him to realize his destiny and follow his dream and said, "When you truly want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it." And this maybe was the last push Santiago needed. He sold all his sheep and gave 1/10 of his sheep to the old man as a payment for his advice and set a sail to Africa. As he landed in Africa, he realized the huge difference in culture and practices. The people in this city spoke Arabic, worshipped a god named Allah, and everyone smoked hookah instead of drinking wine. In the midst of absorbing and still exploring this new place, he at the bar met a man who, to his relief, spoke Spanish and claimed that he knew the way to pyramids. Santiago trusted him and handed him all his money to arrange the travel. However, to his surprise, the man turned out to be a thief, robbed him, and ran away. Shocked by the drastic events, Santiago felt ashamed of himself and he wanted to cry. He wept. He wept a lot. But gathering all his courage, he stood up, told to himself that I am an adventurer and nothing can stop me, and went ahead in his mission. In the same market at the top of Hilly Street, he saw a shop which sold crystals. Since he had no cash with him to even afford a meal, he requested the crystal merchant if he can help him clean up the crystals in exchange for food. As Santiago began cleaning them, the merchant noticed that customers started visiting his shop. The crystal merchant, realizing this as good omen, asked Santiago if he'll work for him in the shop. He agreed as he was broke and in need of money. During his time as a worker, Santiago came up with lots of new ideas and plans to expand the business, and it all worked. Soon, the merchant as well as Santiago earned a good sum of money. It was already 11 months since he started working for the shop. He had become fluent in Arabic and now also had enough funds to go back to Spain, buy back all his sheep, and live a comfortable life. He could have settled, but he was constantly reminded of the old man who said to him to never stop dreaming. Hence, he decided to continue his journey in search of the hidden treasure. Egypt was across the desert, and to his luck, there was a caravan on the same day which was leaving for Al Fayoum, which was in Egypt. There he met an Englishman. The Englishman was a very learned individual and was always immersed in books. He had given up all his worldly life and his only mission was to find a man who possessed the powers to understand the universal language, an alchemist. And he wanted the alchemist to accept him as a student and teach him the art of alchemy, the power to transform things. It was believed that alchemist could transform lead into gold. He had learned that alchemist resides near an oasis in Al Fayoum and hence was part of this journey. As they were traveling, they had to switch routes again and again as there was a big tribal war taking place in the mid of the desert. They arrived at an oasis to take refuge, but the Englishman was excited because he knew that the alchemist resides here. Since he wasn't fluent in Arabic, he insisted and requested the boy to ask the locals about the alchemist's location. He asked many people about alchemist, but was unable to track him. Finally, a young girl came near the well. Santiago approached her to ask about the alchemist, but as soon as he saw her, his heart skipped a beat. He had a love at first sight moment. Her name was Fatima. Gathering all the courage, he asked her about the alchemist and she pointed out the direction of his residence. The Englishman, in all his excitement, rushed towards the tent to meet the alchemist. As he met the alchemist and told about his desire, the alchemist questioned, "You say you have been waiting for this moment for 10 years. But have you ever transformed lead into gold?" The Englishman said no, and the alchemist ordered him to try it first for himself and come back again if he fails. The Englishman left the scene. Meanwhile, Santiago met Fatima again and confessed his love for her. He said he wanted to marry her. Fatima too felt same for him, but Fatima encouraged him to first continue his journey in search of his treasure and said she'll wait for him in the oasis for his return. The boy in excitement went to Englishman to tell her about Fatima, but seeing the Englishman busy in transforming lead to gold, he went at the edge of oasis reflecting his love for Fatima and meditating on the concept of love. All of a sudden, he saw a vision that there is an army that may attack the oasis. He hurried to the chief of the oasis to tell him about it. The chief, trusting his vision, alerted the army and also warned him that if the vision turned out to be false, he would kill the boy. The boy stood his ground because he wanted to save the oasis. Well, next day, an actual army attacked the oasis, and since the defense was ready, thanks to the boy's vision, they were able to defeat them. The tribal chief, happy with Santiago, gifted him 50 gold coins and made him counselor of the oasis. Santiago, happy with the reward and this new position, decided to settle and spend rest of his life in the oasis. He had a better reason now to do so, because he had also found the love of his life, Fatima. He was now rich, had a respectable position, and would also have a wife. But the alchemist, sensing that this boy had it in him to fulfill his destiny, persuaded him to carry on with his mission. He said if you marry Fatima now and settle in life, you may be happy but not satisfied. You will always carry the regret of not trying, and you are just one step away from your goal. Santiago agreed and again carried on with his mission. But this time he was accompanied by the alchemist. On their way to pyramids, they were stopped by an army who suspected them to be spies and were about to kill them. The alchemist intervened, handed all the money that the boy had to them, and also said that the boy had special powers to turn himself into wind, but asked a period of 3 days. The army chief decided to spare their life, kept the money, and gave them 3 days as was asked by the alchemist to show the miracle. Santiago, who never performed the act, was afraid, but the alchemist asked him to believe in himself and trust his instincts. On the 3rd day, Santiago had a deep conversation with the desert, the wind, the sun, and finally the soul of the world, and successfully performed the alchemy of turning himself to wind. The army chief, seeing and realizing the miracle, freed them to continue their travel. The alchemist and the boy arrived at a monastery where the alchemist asked the boy to continue his journey from here on his own. But before separating, he transformed lead into gold and divided it into 4 parts. 1 part he gave to the boy, 1 to the monk, 1 to himself, and 1 part again to the monk of monastery in case Santiago returns from the pyramids empty-handed. The boy, with single piece of gold, continued his journey and finally reached pyramids, where he started digging but found nothing. Here he was again attacked by few men who took away his gold and started beating him. They suspected that there is more gold hidden in this pit and asked him to keep digging. Scared, Santiago said that he didn't hide anything in the ground. Instead, he is digging to find hidden treasure about which he had a dream. The man laughed and said, "What kind of fool are you to believe in a dream? 2 years ago, I too had a dream that if I could travel to Spain and looked for a ruined church, I would find treasure under roots of sycamore tree. But I'm not that stupid to travel all the way just because of a dream." The man with others made fun of him and left. Santiago stood up shakingly and started laughing, bursting out of joy, because now he knew where the treasure was. He went back to the monastery, collected the piece of gold, traveled back to his city in Spain, in the abandoned church, and digged under the sycamore tree. And guess what? Finally found his treasure. Gave 1/10 of his treasure to the old lady as promised, and finally, with deep breath, said to himself, "I am coming, Fatima." Well, this ends the story. There are a lot of takeaways from this story, but I'll list my personal 3. Number 1, never settle. We may many at times come across situations where we get too comfortable in our jobs and decide to settle. Well, settling is not a bad thing, but settling before you realize your true potential definitely is. Hence, always chase your destiny, your treasure. Number 2, listen to your heart. Your heart knows it all. It knows what it wants, what it does not want. Sometimes you get distracted from your path, but the heart sends out signals because it knows you. Hence, don't suppress it and always listen to it. Number 3 and final. When you truly want something in life, the entire universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Hence, trust the universe. The universe has got your back. And I trust you guys that you have got my back. That if you have liked the video, you will subscribe to the channel. I definitely recommend this book. It carries lots of deep insights on life. The book link is in the description. Thanks for listening.